Okay, well, happy 2019. Now we just let off a cuss word, so I'm glad it wasn't recording at that time. But anyhow, she's trying to fix something that the girls broke back there of hers. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the issue that involves teachers. You know, here, and Zeta's probably going to freak out because the door's closed and nobody's in here. But anyway, teachers in Tacoma basically went on strike, and I kind of probably mentioned some of this either on YouTube or on Facebook or someplace about the teacher strike, and it was due to pay. For Tacoma to be the size of city that it is, the pay that teachers get is really not that good. And I don't know the exact dollars and cents, but really and truly, when I heard what it was, I can't remember what it is now, but when I heard what it was, I'm like, that is very low. I mean, there are other little smaller cities just right next door that pay much more than what they get here in Tacoma. Now, Seattle was able to do very well, and the teachers there are doing okay. There were a lot of different communities in the state that actually protested. And literally, school here in Tacoma was delayed by a few days because of the teacher strike.
17 days, something like that.
Yes, 17 days. And the state of Washington actually had a windfall of cash. And that money was split up and divvied up. And of course, Seattle's going to make out like a bandit. But other communities, it was just kind of a fight. And to be honest with you, if you're going by population, I can understand if Seattle, Spokane, and Tacoma got the lion's share of money because they're the bigger cities. But that didn't really happen like that. It ended up going to different communities that some of them, the district is tiny. Some of them, it's pretty decent in size. Others that are large like Tacoma didn't really get it, right? I mean, they got some, but not enough to master the amount of money that teachers are wanting. Now, I'm someone who's extremely big on education because I think that the lack of education, in my opinion, is the reason why we have so many issues in our country to this day. I really do believe that. And I think it happens not only from just, K through 12, but I think that all the way up. College is the only instance where the playing field starts to look a lot better. Most colleges you go to, you're going to get a decent education, right? Some much better than others, but still, it's fairly decent. You can go anywhere in the world and use that information and make something of yourself. It's when you're talking about K through 12 where you have a major problem, right? It's just, these are facts. I mean, I remember my professor telling me that college is not the issue in America because we have one of the best college systems in the world, here in this country. But it's K through 12. And literally, they said the biggest adjustment for people is when they're a senior going into college because, for one, you're going to be on your own. So there's a lot of consequence with that because it's freedom for the first time. For two, you're having to pay for things kind of on your own, and so that's a big shock. But the biggest shock is when you're going from one education system to the other, because a lot of times you have to really leapfrog up in order to go from a senior in college to being your first year a senior in high school to your first year in college, because the educational standards are so low in high school. And so when you're looking at the teachers in most parts of the country, the salary to me is extremely low. I remember back when my teacher was in grade schools, many of my teachers would go and buy supplies at the store and bring them in for students to have. And it wasn't like I went to like a poor school or anything like that. It's just a regular rural school in anywhere in America, right? And they still had to go and buy supplies and bring them in. And I thought, well, that's what they're supposed to do. When I was younger, I thought, well, that's kind of what they do. And there's even teacher supply stores where teachers can go and get discounted stuff just because of the simple fact that they have to purchase things and bring them in. And when I got older and I started actually, being responsible for things, I realized, like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, first off, these teachers aren't making a whole lot of money to begin with. And for two, they're taking the money that they're making and they're putting it towards helping the students. I mean, there should be a plan in place where the school district provides money for each classroom to where they can actually go and buy the supplies. Now, I know here, when I was younger, they didn't do this. I don't know about Noel. I think we had this discussion. We never had a list of supplies that my mom had to go and buy, and it was a share program, and all the parents had to buy stuff and bring it to the school. That never happened when I was in school. And maybe that's just where I'm from. Did that happen with you, Noe?
We had a supply list, but there was stuff that we needed, and it was our stuff.
Yeah, so now, like, there's a supply list that you have to buy as a parent. You bring it, and it's shared amongst all the kids, right? We never had a supply list to begin with at all, right? At my school, K through 12 never happened. Now, that may be the case now, but it wasn't back when I was going to school. So I don't understand where the money is going, right? Like, these teachers were, and some people were upset with the teachers, right? But you can't get mad at people when they have to do, because some of these kids, I made a comment that not everybody should own a house. Not everybody should have kids. Some of these kids that you see are just headaches. To be honest with you, like, some kids that you see, and when I go and take the kids up to the bus stop, like, sometimes you see that. And that's what the teachers have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They have to motivate some of these kids who are only interested in video games or social media. And so they're not really interested in wanting to learn. The teacher has to keep everyone engaged. They have to deal with people that, want to be just jerks. Some of this they get from their parents. And they have to do all this on a shoestring budget. And so you're basically showing up to work to be disrespected, not only by the kids, because that's to be expected, but also you're kind of being disrespected by the school district, right? So they did this whole entire strike, and finally there was an agreement made, but the district said there's a possibility that there will be some staff changes and staff cuts. So they did the agreement. Now, mind you, there was one teacher that was a fairly well-known teacher who actually quit one day during the strike. She quit and said she was not going to return back to the Tacoma School District, and she was going to some nearby school. Keep in mind, you can literally, because we have all these other cities next to us, you can literally drive to a rural school, which has less students that you have to deal with. You can literally drive to that school. It's not going to change your commute times much, but for some of these people, for some of these teachers, and you get paid more. So why wouldn't they do that? Like, some of these teachers actually said, well, heck, I could just, why worry about it? I can easily just say, you know what? I'm just going to go next door. I get paid a whole lot more money than I am here. So why not? It's not like the teachers aren't getting paid anything in Tacoma, but they should be getting paid much more than what I think the listed amount is. No one's saying they should be paid $100,000 a year. I'm not saying that, but they should be able to have a decent enough living and be able to provide. There should be a bucket of money that's provided to them so that they don't have to spend their own money to bring supplies to the students. We're already, as parents, giving supplies to the school. So there needs to be a balance there. Well, once the strike was over, they then said, well, the students have to make this up, right? They have to make up the days that they were out. And Noe said it was how many? 17 days?
17 days, something like that.
So we thought, okay, their summer's just going to be jacked up. Maybe a little bit of, their spring break and stuff. Well, they're supposed to go back, because now it's New Year's. Actually January the 1st, 2019 today. So Happy New Year's. But They're supposed to go back on Monday. Today is what, Tuesday? No?
Yeah.
Okay, so today's Tuesday. They're supposed to go back next Monday. However, because of the teacher strike, they're actually going back a few days early, and they're going back this week. They're going back on Thursday. So in just 2 more days, they're going back to school. So it shortens their winter break by a couple of days. Also, their spring break is impacted, so that's going to be shortened by a little bit as well. And are they having to go during the summertime too, Noe? A little bit?
I don't think so.
So then
they don't get out until like June 18th or something like that.
Yeah, so they get out like late June. Not late June, but middle June. So not only has that happened and, them going to school at certain times, whatever. That's fine. I don't care about that. But what's interesting is now the school district has cut a lot of positions. A lot of positions. They did it more than once. So the first wave they went through, they hacked off a lot of teachers. Then the second wave, they hacked off some more teachers. And they're saying, we hope we don't have to do any more. So at the end of the day, a lot of teachers and staff are out of a job because of the school district saying that they didn't have enough money. Now, keep in mind, they were saying they were going to give them a raise, but we're talking, one of the big issues is that we're all given, typically with jobs, you're given, what do they call it, Noe? A life? Cost of living. Yeah, standard of living increase, right? And that's really basically nothing. They say it's usually 3%. Like places I worked, it's 3%. But the cost of living is much greater than 3% every year. It just always is. So basically, you're just giving me enough of an increase, and then many times it was enough of an increase to just screw me over when it came time for tax year. But they offer this to the teachers, and we're talking about a part of the country where the cost of living is very high. So not only were they paid low to begin with, the increase that they were going to get was not going to even make much of a difference. It was like, what's the point of doing that? So that's why they went on strike to begin with. So now all of that has been settled and solved, but they're cutting positions left and right. So now there's a teacher shortage only because the schools got rid of a lot of people. See what I'm saying? Now, I did a video talking about Tacoma and the housing situation, and one of the school districts, Tacoma school districts, sold land to this developer, right? It's for $400,000. Now, that's not a lot of money, but why not take that money and use it towards teacher salaries? I mean, that's a thought. I mean, 407,000 when you compare it to because I mean, we're literally the second largest school district in the area, obviously. So that's not going to do a whole lot, but it does actually help. Why not take that money and at least bring back some of the teachers that were lost, right? Or some of the staff. Bring some of them back. But again, that's not going to probably be done. I just don't quite understand that. But I guarantee you that the superintendent gets paid a very bloated salary. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. I'm not saying that the person, Noe feels differently. I'm not saying the person doesn't necessarily deserve it. But some of these folks are making like tremendous amount of money. And typically with companies I've worked for, the higher up you go, the less work the person sometimes does. Mm-hmm. And the people that are, us, are doing the most amount of work. And we're getting paid the least. And so, I mean, I understand that people will say, well, that's all of it. Because we have people that come to our page every now and again. And, they're going to feel a certain type of way. And that's fine. That, again, everybody has an opinion. Just like everyone has a butt with a hole in it. We all do. It doesn't mean that just because you state your opinion that I'm going to care any different or it's going to change my opinion. It's not. I'm still going to state my position. Like someone got on here making an argument about gentrification and why is it when it talks about black people that's a big deal? Because of the simple fact I'm black. That's why it's a big deal. Duh. I mean, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I do care. It's not to say I don't care about other people, but I can't speak in the reference of a white man because I'm not white. I can't speak in the reference of a Hispanic man because I'm not Hispanic. Does it happen in every community? Yeah, it does. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be the best person to talk about it. If that's something you want to talk about, then go for it. But on my channel, I can talk about whatever I want to. And when it comes to the teacher situation, I feel, and that impacts everybody. When it comes to the teacher situation, it's not fair that teachers have to take out of their pocket to pay. They also are getting paid less than most teachers, even in some of these smaller towns. And no offense against the teachers in the smaller areas. I think that they should definitely get what they're getting paid, if not more. But there's no reason why teachers here in Tacoma, sorry, I clapped and there's dust over here. I don't dust over in this area, so I apologize. But definitely I think that teachers here should get paid more than what they do, but then they end up cutting back and slashing a whole lot of teachers' jobs. So now they're short-staffed. So guess who pays for that at the end of the day? The kids. Because now these few teachers are now taking on more students because they've cut positions. And then the kids are not being able to be, you know, you do better with smaller classes. It just is. I mean, it's harder to rein in a huge amount of students, especially the young kids like that. So anyhow, tell me what you think. I just think it's ridiculous. I think that there should be something done. I mean, the state has a lot of money. For them to say that they don't, I just don't buy that. They have a lot of money. I mean, let's just be real. There's a lot of money. I mean, when you think about it, we have more advantages here in Washington than other places. We do. Because when you think about it, we have, like, for example, the whole legal weed situation. That makes a lot of money. Yet, where does the money go? In Colorado, they take that money and they use it for their education. It's used, like, wholeheartedly for that. Here, some of it's used for it, but it's used for other stuff too. So they use it to prop up a lot of other things.
Well, and like the lottery, I think in New Mexico, they use lottery money to fund scholarships.
Same thing with Kentucky. They use the Kentucky lottery to pay for the education system. I don't understand. Where's the money going?
And where's the alcohol tax go?
Yeah, where's it going? So that I don't understand. Now, if it's all going for teachers in Seattle, I have an issue with that. I do. I have an issue for that because obviously there's other, and I think any community. There was another, I can't remember if it was it Puyallup or was it, I forget the other city that also had a teacher strike just as long as we did. But same thing. I salute those teachers who are saying, you know what? Hey, we need to get decent pay. We need to have a decent pay, a decent standard of living for the area that we live in. And it shouldn't be that they are shortchanged just to prop up another school district that's getting way, way more. And on a regular basis, they're getting big chunks of increases every so often, where the teachers here in Tacoma is just a slight little increase every now and again. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the cost of living down here is a little bit less than it is up in Seattle, but it's not that. It's becoming almost equal in many respects. And in some cases, it's more expensive depending upon what you buy. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.